Hello everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorder of videos, and a tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to the Thursday edition of my bi-weekly behind-the-scenes DM-only live stream, Crafting the Deep, which I build, write, and prepare for our next session of Call from the Deep. For playing characters Gottwald, Max Sauer, or Toril, the stream is not meant for you. Be full of spoilers, but the rest of you are always welcome. We stream our D&D sessions live on YouTube every Friday. You can join our official Discord server with invite link in the description below. If you would like to support the channel, please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson for our campaign. We use Roll20, and for streaming, I use OBS Studio. It does not at all feel like Thursday. I don't know if the week's just going by slow or what's going on. It's also getting a little chilly these days, finally, which is kind of nice, I'll admit. So we are officially talking about Ascarle. We've done that. I think we've been there for a while, but I've officially updated the thumbnail at least. So that's the final area. So I guess that's the final crafting thumbnail that I'll be making for this whole campaign. That's a milestone. I'm starting to fill out the map, which you should be able to have a link to on the artist's Patreon page, which I think is free to download, which provides nice full color map of a pretty good just direct translation of the original design. So this is a case where I will be using, similar to what we just did with Trisk, the original map design. But as always, we're going to look through and see if we need to like change or update any sections from the original idea, which folks did remind me that this big cavern, so most of the tunnels it says are in rooms are about 20 feet high, I think, which is pretty high. However, this large cavern, I believe, is supposed to be 50 feet high, which makes sense because it's literally like, I picture these giant like Bioshock domes, you know, in the middle of this area, which is all the more modern lithid layer section, and I believe that is more like 50 feet tall. Or does it mention Dungeons of Ascarle? Maybe not there. I wonder if it's just in Corrupted Caverns then. There's a lot of dungeon here. Yeah, here we go. So natural stone walls are often damnless. Ceilings are 20 feet high, but then if you get to area 32, which I believe just encompasses the whole cavern basically, it says the ceiling is 50 feet high in this cavern. That is very, very tall. Now, because one of the problems I had last Monday was talking about how the Kraken / Elderbrain interacts with the party, because it's not really like waiting in a boss room or whatever. Like, this is the lair. The Elderbrain should be able to sense the party, at least to some extent, that the fact that there's new, thinking creatures invading in this one specific place. And of course, it's a great chance to open up with some proper boss monologuing and all that. And it even mentions in the book that Zelix 4 is very arrogant and confident, and which is of course great traits for a boss to have. So my concern was, how do I keep this Kraken from absolutely wiping the party if it has knowledge of the party's location and has access to them? Well, I'm not sure how much access it actually has to them, because I think its lair really is the ruins above, which is this section here, where it actually can swim around freely, and it's got the, whatever, 40 or 60 feet swim speed, whatever it's got. For some reason the resolution's not loading here, but there it goes. Okay. So that's the normal area above, where it's actually like the bottom of the ocean right here, whereas these holes then lead to the underground area, most of which is not actually underwater. However, there's a 50-foot gap between where the ceiling has the magical runes that block the water versus the floor where the party's on. So that does make sense that the Kraken would not want to just jump down there, because other than it's like teleportation magic, it would be very inconvenienced just sloshing around. I mean, it does have a walking speed, I guess, but clearly would be much more formidable in the water. So I don't think it actually wants to come down here necessarily. This is where like all the minions and things just do stuff down here, and probably where the mind flayers are able to construct all this stuff right in the middle of the cavern. So that means that the Kraken probably can't actually come down and just fuck with the players, which is convenient for me to work around, I think. And in fact, I may have to even change the rules a bit to where it has a chance of even fucking with the players, because its tentacle reach is 30 feet, which seems pretty big for, a melee attack. But if it's 50 feet up in the air, then its tentacles aren't going to be able to reach the party. So I guess you could just have it do its spells and its lightning storm while it's up there, which is still pretty scary. But that solves a lot of, I guess, my problems. The fact that it's actually a pretty big gap to reach the party. Now, if they do manage to fuck with it here, maybe in room 40, depending on how tall that ceiling is, that might be a better chance for the Kraken to interact with the party. There's 3 different areas, I believe, in this section of the dungeon where the Kraken has access specifically from its lair. And I believe there are two or three openings in the other section of the dungeon that has access as well. So that might be just an interesting way of having the Kraken be able to directly interact with the party and fling some spells and stuff, and kind of treat it more of a environmental hazard and less of a combat. And in fact, I'm even tempted, if and when the party make it near these big holes and look up and see the arcane stuff and see the Kraken suddenly loom over and fire lightning bolts down, I'm tempted to not even have the party roll initiative and not even have them think about, like, oh, this is a combat situation, but instead be like, no, this is a you got to get the fuck out of here situation. And I think by not even having them roll combat, but instead assuming they will retreat, I mean, you assume, but you can have them stick around and maybe fight the Kraken, but it can do that lightning storm literally every round, and I don't think the party would win out there. And plus, between you and me, the Kraken's probably gonna have like infinite hit points, because I don't, I don't think I'm gonna let them have a chance of actually killing. I guess that fair enough. They probably could, maybe with a team of full level, if they knew what they were getting to. Then maybe they'd have a chance against a CR25 creature, but I highly doubt, especially when you add the Elder Brain abilities on top of that, and then the Kraken definitely would be able to fuck with them directly. But I mean, there's plenty of monsters and things for them to deal with here. I really like the area that they first come across, so we can have them, this is the tunnel that they'll exit out on. Again, assuming they follow that tunnel, of course. And then they'll have a little bit of a monologuing, or not a dialogue, I guess, sequence where the Elder Brain Kraken will directly be able to contact the party right when they arrive, and basically try to do like a psychic link on Toril and try to pinpoint the exact location and just kind of have this moment, but still give the party, that I want to introduce the fact that, like, yes, this is the entrance to the dungeon, and yes, this is kind of the way you're supposed to go, versus oh no, you've stumbled into like the wrong way, which I feel like we kind of ended up in a few times going all the way back to the Prince of the Apocalypse like mega dungeon, because there were so many different options and ways for the party to enter and exit various dungeons without even knowing you're in like a new higher level dungeon area. But this is the appropriate entrance here. This is the Corrupted Cavern section, which is about 10 different rooms kind of on the left side of the big part of the dungeon. And I like that there's like hidden quicksand all over this dungeon that also does damage, because that's always kind of I mean, it can be fun to do like environmental stuff, but if there's no like repercussions, then it feels kind of lame. And like if a quicksand just like restrain, I mean, because you watch a movie or something, you're like, oh, the quicksand, you could possibly like somebody could get killed in there, but like that's not really how quicksand necessarily works in D&D mechanics. It's like, oh, it restrains you and then I guess eventually suffocates you. The suffocation rules are very, very lax. But here it's acid tar pits that are magically disguised to look like the ground, and I think it's supposed to be just an effect of the Far Realm. And just being in the Kraken layer, basically having like different effects on creatures and things here. But it's basically hidden, and you step there. And weirdly, quicksand, which I wonder if my players would balk at this, you actually don't make a save for quicksand. It says it covers about a 10-foot square area, is usually 10 feet deep. When a creature enters the area, it sinks 1d4 plus 1 feet into the quicksand and becomes restrained. I find that a little shocking that there's actually no saving throw involved there. Usually when a thing happens to a player character, that player character gets to roll a save to avoid said thing. Not the fact that it's just, nope, you instantly fall in there. Now, obviously you have a chance to get out of it, and you sink I think at the start of each round, and then it costs a DC of 10 plus the number of feet that you sink, which that addition was 1d4 plus 1, so anywhere between 2 and 5, which means the DC would be anywhere between 12 and 15 for the very start. However, the nice thing about these acid tar pits is that they also take 2d10 acid damage every round while they're in there, so that makes things a little more interesting. So I'm really enjoying that as a just added environmental thing, and I would definitely make them spend an action to be able to search for any other of these spots, because they're not all over the place. They're in very specific areas, and I looked at the original map, and it even has them originally basically right in front of the ledge. So if they were just kind of hopping down, which hopping down, I think it's a 30-foot tall ledge, so you'd still have to kind of be careful. Well, I say that half the party has climbing speed, so whatever. And then also conveniently in the three different like branching paths the party can leave. I mean, they're not really branching; it's all open, but three different areas the party can leave this zone. They also have to contend with these things. I don't know whether they make one like search action and be able to find all of them, or if I would have them be like, all right, which area are you gonna like search in, and then make the search check. I'm also not sure what the DC would be to find them. It says pure like regular stone, but are actually 10-foot deep pools of tar-like acid. So I imagine it would be almost like a trying to find a roper or something, which I think those are like indistinguishable. So I don't know what the perception check would be. Probably pretty damn high is what I would have to make. And maybe even like a DC 20, where it would like still be possible. Especially, I guess the key is once you've fallen in and like encountered the trap, then you would be able to then search for them. But I think it would still be a pretty high DC to locate that. Let's see. Then we get to room 33, which I may have to change because I'm not sure what the goal of this room is. It has, I mean, it's an interesting setup. It has like a little archaeological dig with a ladder and a table with some stuff on it. But the thing on the table, this creepy like statue, is actually this like pretty powerful, annoyingly powerful stat block that apparently the creator, I guess, designed for this adventure because I couldn't find anywhere else, called a graven image. But it has the ability to reduce your charisma score until you finish a short or long rest, and it instantly kills you if your charisma is reduced to 0. In addition to doing a ton of force damage with a +10 to hit, like it's crazy. Or it can also do this gaseous curse, where it basically turns you into the gaseous form spell, and I couldn't even tell how you remove it. It's like forced. I think it is gaseous form, isn't it? That's the name of the spell, and it forces you into that form. And it literally lasts until removed by the remove curse spell or other magic, which is pretty permanent if the party doesn't have access to remove curse or greater restoration or something. So it's a cool idea for curse for sure, that like, oh, you're cursed into mist. That's pretty awesome. In fact, that's a cool idea for a room in general. You walk into a room and there's a bunch of mist everywhere and you're like, man, this is weird. And then you realize that like it's a trap that's misting people. But you would have to have some way of like that mist ending or something. I don't know what would be the case there, but I'm also it's just if you enter the room, this thing attacks you, I believe. Yeah, attacks any non-rocklanders who enter the cavern. And then there's a pit, which has a creepy corpse at the bottom of it. That's the only thing there. And if you see the corpse, you have a chance of gaining a form of madness because it's just creepy, I guess. So I like the idea of this room. I don't know if it's very cohesive and everything comes together. I don't know if it's worth having the graven image be a actual monster and having us roll initiative and fight it, versus it being some kind of creepy trap curse thing. Because I think about, it's funny, I'm thinking about Prince of the Apocalypse a lot now, but I think about that one trap where the party came across, I forgot what it was, but it turned them into oozes. And that ended up being really fun, and it was basically the polymorph spell, so it's inconvenient, yeah, but also the polymorph ends whenever you take enough damage. So that way it was an interesting curse that the party had to kind of work around. But also it was something that they did. It was they touched, like, I think a statue or something, and that's how they ended up with it. Whereas this one, the triggering thing is like you just step into the room, which doesn't seem super fair for the situation, being like something you do within the room. But I like the idea of cursing, of maybe taking that one ability of this stat block and like cursing a character into a mist form. But I think then you would have to have some way of getting rid of that mist form. And unfortunately, I think the original gaseous form spell, there's nothing like that. It just lasts a certain amount of time, which I could do that too. It's like, hey, you last. Well, unfortunately, if you do that, then it's like, all right, well, we're just going to stop at a short rest, and then it ends. So yeah, normally there's no way to end it until it's concentration or it ends after an hour. But it's a pretty bad, unlike the ooze where you can still technically attack and move and do stuff. The gaseous form, you can move, you can pass through areas and all that. It's convenient for travel, but you cannot attack or cast spells, manipulate objects. Like, you basically can't do anything but move. So it's kind of a tough curse, and I would have to come up with a way for a party member to absolve themselves of said curse. Otherwise, they're going to be in for a kind of a bad time. So I'm not sure it's worth using this very, very strong CR10, just random ass stat block in here as a nasty statue that attacks the party. I feel like maybe there could be some cool environmental storytelling where it's like you see like maybe some dead bodies in the pit, and so something has clearly killed them down there, and maybe there's an item down there that's actually cursing people, and it's like just you look down there and it's all like swirling mists maybe, and if you go down there and you try to find like a cool item I can put down there, and then it's that item that is a curse of turning you into a mist. But again, then I would need some way of freeing them, which may just be a case of putting something nearby, like maybe in this room right here there's like a scroll of remove curse or something. The party wouldn't know that necessarily. Yeah, that could be tricky. And then you have to like think about, okay, what happens if somebody like just goes down with a mage hand with like a good perception check or something? Like, can they pull the thing up without causing the curse of that? And I would have to come up with some kind of item maybe that'd be worth it. But I'm leaning towards maybe cursed item versus something. In fact, I don't think there's anything else on the table, right? On the altar, yeah, there is a couple things actually. 6 gems, I guess. A potion of water breathing. Oh, that's right. And the chaotic evil candle of invocation, which we looked at last time, which you can only attune to if you were chaotic evil, which the party is not. So maybe I'd have to come up with another. That's actually a very rare item, so I guess I could come up with something else that would be a creepy, weird item, or it could just be a MacGuffin item that literally that's all it does is give you. Maybe it's like a thing that gives you gaseous form, but you don't get to choose when it starts and stops. I don't know. I'm trying to think. It will be a good curse for that item. So I'm thinking about I may change this setup currently, and I need to figure it out because it could potentially be one of the first rooms the party ends up. I have no idea which direction they're going to go when they come out here. Only Gottwald is even going to be able to see pretty far. There is lighting everywhere, which is actually surprising, but I guess it's just convenient for all the creatures living here. Gottwald will be able to see pretty quickly this giant dome here in the middle of the room, which there's thankfully no entrance even close to here until you go all the way up to the north. And keep in mind, they will be motivated at the start to search out those 4 brains, or those 4, what I call them, augmenters, in order to kind of unlock the Elder Brain from the Kraken. And if I keep those original locations, then I can kind of pinpoint the various paths that the players will go in. So if I keep the one that's in Area 37, then they'll definitely probably go north first, because I believe that's going to be their closest brain, which is going to be about 250 feet north and slightly west. Versus, I'll need to figure out... Actually, I need to figure out where the new one is going to be in the Illithid layer, because it was on the 2nd level of this one. But I need to put it in a different room. So it's going to be east, but it could be anywhere between, gosh, like 300 feet or 400 something feet. So I need to figure that out, because I do give them, basically, if they take that severed head, they've got like locate object for all the augmenters. So that would allow them to find it. So I need to look through this area and put the numbers on there and see which room it makes sense for them to put the brain at. That's if I want to keep the original. Well, I guess that's not actually the original location. That's again on the 2nd level, but I'm okay with nuking that whole 2nd level. I just think there's way enough content here, and a lot of the leaders of the Illithids, or half of them, I guess, now have been defeated, so I don't really need to make layers for them. And then the other 2, I would expect, can still be in the other 2 sections. Oh, now I've got my mouse again. Remember last time I didn't have my mouse? That was weird. But they'll still be up here, so they'll be a lot further away. So it'll be, the players could... It makes sense they would either go in a clockwise or counterclockwise direction, and that's all going to come down to what decision they make when they first enter this dungeon. Do they go east and go towards the Illithid layer first, and then go counterclockwise, or do they go north further into the caves, and then I think presumably, because then the others would all be closer for them, and then going clockwise. If they go clockwise, I think that would probably be a more satisfying trajectory because then they end up with the Illithid layer last. Although either way, we'll have to figure out the pacing of when they actually can encounter the Kraken. And then does the Elder Brain actually teleport to this middle area? I would think it does, but the players may want to explore this area beforehand. And then we'll have to figure out how we want to do that, because I think pacing wise, they're supposed to fight the Elder Brain and Kraken first somehow, and then subdue it enough to where the Elder Brain has to teleport and escape, and it ends up here in the brining pool. I just don't know. The more I think about it, the more like the Kraken battle seems like it's the final boss climactic battle, right? Anything after that is going to be not nearly as crazy big versus just fighting an Elder Brain inside of its pool, even if it's surrounded by all this, like, you know, boss attendants and stuff. Plus, you presumably maybe have the Kraken on your side, like tearing through shit or sending, you know, force reinforcements to help the party or something, which maybe that can be the climactic thing, I guess. But we, you know, it reminds me that we used an Elder Brain for the penultimate fight in our last campaign, so it would feel weird to use an Elder Brain just as the final big boss here. So I'm still working through that, basically. I just don't have a good answer for it yet in terms of how I want to work out the actual final boss fight. It would feel a little weird if we don't use this big like area in the middle. So maybe I'll have to have some other context there. Maybe, well, we could put an Abjuration Brain or an Augmenter in here. I'd have to do that pretty early though. I'd have to either move an existing one. I could not add a fifth one though, because they already said, unless during their maybe in the middle of them searching for the others, it suddenly pops up and says there are now this many, and maybe another one has been formed, and I can put that in here. Or maybe there is some kind of final connection piece. Maybe they have to. Maybe they don't have to. It's not enough to destroy the Augmenter. Maybe you can't destroy the Augmenters. Maybe you have to take them here first. Destroy them like the freaking One Ring in Mount Doom. But I don't know how to give the party that information. And how much of it is that a pain in the ass? I could also have this perhaps... I know there's a teleporter here, so maybe that would teleport them to the boss fight, basically. Could also be something... You know what I need is a creature in this dungeon that can inform the party. That's somebody who can just give the players more information, because they just don't have a whole lot going into here. Although I've given them the Augmenter location, which is pretty good. Most of the dungeons should be hostile to them. Maybe like the Deathlock Mastermind that's in the upper right corner, I think. Is it this lady? Desecrated Catacomb? Actually, I think she's home to Shava the Damned, an undead elven queen loyal to Slarkrethel. So that could be interesting, because if she's loyal to Slarkrethel, maybe... And maybe she's on the outs. Maybe she doesn't understand the... Okay, let's see. On number 6. Seen on the throne of Shop of the Damned, a Deathlock Mastermind whose patron, the Great Old One, is Slarkrethel. She wields a +3 rod of the Pact Keeper, wears a ring of evasion and a ring of swimming. Damn. Tries to recruit characters in the Kraken Society, but fights back if attacked. She knows Slarkrethel has been changed by Zelix 4, but does not see this as a cause for concern. Really? Him being taken over by an Elder Brain? I think that would be quite concerning, if you ask me. Then who is Vestris? Alright, let me make sure I get my people right. Beneath the desecrated catacombs is a tomb which once belonged to the current regent of Ascarle, Shava the Damned. So it once belonged to Shava. Since Shava's reanimation in service of Slarkrethel, the city's previous regent, an Illithid named Vestris, has been interred in the empty tomb. Tomb is protected by Shava and Kraken are agents, but still shows evidence of its elven history. Vestris is loyal to Slarkathel, not Zelix 4, and could therefore serve as an ally to the characters. Very interesting. This is exactly what I was looking for. So, ironically, an Illithid would be their best ally. I think what was the other Illithid adventure? The Shattered Obelisk? I think they did something similar where there was like a Lich Illithid. I think it's literally called like an Ithalich or something funny. They could also serve as a party's ally. Okay. Interesting. So and also that Shava has replaced Vestris. I just stuck with them, but not Zelix 4. So I wonder why. Maybe well, it's like the Emperor from Baldur's Gate, where it's like, no, fuck this whole colony thing. I appreciate my individuality, my closeness to the Kraken, and yada yada yada. The problem is, I think one of the Abjuration Brains is here, though, isn't it? So that doesn't make sense. 78 Tomb of Vestris. A Mirror of Life tapping. Oh, man. I don't know if I want to do that. We did that with Tomb of Annihilation, didn't we? A whole bunch of NPCs the party can grab. Just sea elves. Jeez. Let's see. Sarcophagus. Yields mold to the coffin to better represent their outlook. Mind Flayer turned Alhoon. Is that what the Lich one is called? The road to Lich. Oh, man. And fucking Sabra would love a Lich, even if it was a Mind Flayer Lich. Oh, that would be amazing. Alhoon. I don't remember the name. Alhoon is a name of the creature. For some reason I thought it was Ithalich, but maybe I made that up. Yeah, Alhoon. The Lich Mind Flayer. That's fantastic. So maybe that's why, because you're no longer tied to the colony. Study of forbidden text can be hidden from other illithids and even from an elder brain. I'm Arcanist trying to pursue wizardry must flee the colony for their own safety. Once they taste freedom from the colony, some prize their privacy, others did commute similar minds, others seek to dominate a colony by elevating themselves to a position of leadership normally held by an elder brain. Okay, so you would chafe at having elder brains suddenly come in. Oh, this is great. This is really good. This is really good. Okay. I'm excited about introducing this character then. God, having a CR10 Lich Illithid would be hilarious. Okay, so that's amazing, but we do need to draw the party here then. How do they learn about this? Well, one of the jars is right there. That's the easiest thing. But why? Opening the sarcophagus requires a DC 15 strength check. Needs the body of Vestris. The characters disturb the sarcophagus, including removing the canopic jar. Vestris animates and attacks. Her sole goal is to defend the canopic jar. The jar is destroyed before her. Vestris collapses. She had been mind-altered by Zelix 4 to defend the jar, but her true master is Slarkathel. The characters explain that they are here to kill the Elder Brain, not the Kraken. She can serve as an ally. She can also reveal that there are 3 more canopic jars hidden throughout the dungeon. Okay. Honestly, I may keep the fact that the jar is there because, or the augmenter brain, because I definitely want the party to get here and meet this character. I may remove the fact that the character is mind controlled and has to be a boss fight. Well, I mean, they could fight a Lich, I guess. Presumably, won't they just destroy the jar? Or is it inside the canopic, the augmenter thing? Or do you have to open it first? Well, maybe they have to open it first. I wonder if do the jars have their own stat? Well, I'm trying to think if it's even worth it. Like, won't the party be able to kill the jar pretty quickly before? Unless you open it up, see the jar, but then the creature immediately animates and attacks. Would the party think to destroy it first? That might be worth it though. The jar can be removed by prizing it out with an edge tool such as a dagger. Doing so causes Vestris to rise. See above. But aren't we supposed to just destroy them? Unless I change that part of it. Dealing damage to a jar, the brain within or casting dispel magic ends the spell. So there's literally no like stomach there. I could use the brains in it, like literally use the brains in a jar thing, and really start copying more Brain with the Frostmaiden because that was fine, I guess. Or just that's A. B is turned into a MacGuffin item where it's nothing, but you just destroy the thing. Or C, maybe it's something else. Maybe you have to engage in some kind of, I don't know, skill check thing to uncouple it from the Elder Brain. Could be more interesting and useful. Maybe you have to take I don't know, you take psychic damage or something, or I could make all four of them be different. That could also be interesting. One of them's a skill check, another one's a creature. One of them is like nothing, but you just like destroy it. I don't know. I gotta figure that out too. But I love introducing Vestris, the Mind Flayer Alhoun, who was supplanted when the Elderbrain colony got here, and maybe they were able to trap her. And maybe that's also what the Augmenter Brains and the Elder Brain is having to do, is trap this powerful creature in like a stasis. And then by destroying that particular Augmenter Brain, that would then free Vestris, who would be the party would probably think that would be a fun twist too. The party thinks like, oh fuck, we're gonna have to fight this fucking Mind Flayer Lich, and the twist is that like actually Mind Flayer Lich is probably pretty well aware of what's going on and would put two and two together with the party pretty quickly, and it would be a dialogue sequence. I'd be like, yeah, I want to help you fuck shit up. I think that'd be fantastic, actually. Which thankfully, it's also in the right location, being the upper right. We know it's not going to be the first brain that they get to. It'll be anywhere between the second and the third, most likely. And after they've explored a good chunk of the dungeon already, which is also handy. So I'm liking all of this. I definitely want to use Vestris. So we'll use that spot. The second one up here I don't have a problem with. Probably the one that's in the least interesting, weirdest spot, I guess, might be the first one they get to in terms of the brain locations, which is in Area 37. Corrupted Caverns. So I guess continuing the exploration here. So 33, we'll have to work on some kind of creepy archaeological dig. But I like the idea of there being some kind of cursed thing there. 34 just has a bunch of cultists chilling out here. It's the Acolyte Dormitory. A Warlock of the Great Old One and 2 cult fanatics are chilling. They are not hostile, but they are kind of crazy, apparently. They do have a key to area. Oh yeah, the archaeological dig right here is locked. So possible dialogue sequence, possible combat there. I'm not sure. It doesn't really say they have much information though. And what they're doing, I assume they're just acolyte. They're kind of cracking acolyte people that have just been maybe here wandering around too long. Maybe part of their team got killed or cursed by whatever's in Area 33. I think there's also some cultists. The main temple that the original Kraken Society cultists uses, I think, is down here at 39, 40, and 41. Which, as far as I'm aware, in the adventure, the Illithids have not co-opted yet. They've pretty much just stuck to their main areas in the middle, and then I guess maybe they've got agents in the upper areas. 35 has everybody's favorite creature, the Roper. However, these are unique Mind Flayer Ropers called Raffians, which feature like the Mind Flayer tentacles and stuff. As far as I'm aware, they just basically have the Mind Flayer stun only once per day. But just Ropers in general are always really fun. I think otherwise they're pretty much just the standard Roper stat block. Keep in mind the ceilings are like 50 feet high, so I think they do. Yeah, they just have a 50-foot reach with their tendrils. I guess you could always argue they're themselves are large, so they're not, they're hanging down a little bit, so they don't quite need the full 50. But you'd have to wait until they're almost directly beneath them, and then they could launch their attacks and just yank people straight up. But a 50-foot cave is always a great place to have a Roper fight for sure. And there's 2 of them together, so that's 4 tendril attacks per Roper, which would be fun if they make their way north into, which I expect they would, because again, if they're making their way towards this brain in 37, they would definitely go in there. And then if they go the right side here, they can have a direct, as we mentioned before, an interaction with the Kraken brain, which would probably not be combat, but just be like, oh yeah, you see this like terrifying form above you. Maybe have the players even roll for like, God, there's actually in the new DMG, they don't call it madness. I think they just call it like a mental trauma or something. I forget what they call it, but you can roll and either take psychic damage or have the frightened condition with the DM's manipulation that it can be, whatever you're frightened of, or it can last for a long time if it needs to or whatever. So in other words, it just gives you the frightened of like having disadvantage, but not necessarily like there's nothing. I guess there would be a source here, which is just this whole area you wouldn't be able to move closer to. You could do that trigger and then have it like unleash some of its, a chain lightning spell, or just do its conjure lightning storm or something. 'Cause I don't even think it can actually reach the party with its tentacles necessarily, and not have the party fully go into combat, similar to what I did in Tomb, where for brief spoilers for Tomb Annihilation, where the party was on the ship and they were going around the coast and they made it towards the southern end of the peninsula, and I had the dragon actually come out and just fucking burn their ship down. That was not a combat sequence. That was just a like series of quick time events basically the party had to deal with. This would be kind of a similar situation where I don't think I would even put them in combat for that. I think I would just unleash some attacks and then the party would have to GTFO. Going further north is more mind-flared creatures, which again, I love this theming. It definitely should be that this layer has been taken over by the mind flayers, and a lot of the creatures should reflect that. So we've got that in the Ropers, which have been mind-flayed or whatever, ceramorphosized. And then the Chuuls, which have been turned into Uchulans, which are available in Monster Manual Expanded, but also this adventure has, I think, slightly weaker versions of the Uchulan. Which is a Chuul that basically just has the... they always can do their paralyzing slime thing with the tentacles, which they can do if they're grappling somebody with their pinchers. But the Uchulan upgrades that to say any creature that actually touches it or hits it with a melee attack has to then make a save against being poisoned or paralyzed, which is pretty darn nasty. Now, what's funny is I used Chuuls previously, like once or twice in this campaign, and they both just shit the bed. They didn't do hardly anything. They couldn't make a attack roll to save their lives. It was very lame. So it'll be interesting to see if these creatures are better in that way. But at the very least, the DM loves creatures that has a triggering reaction effect that doesn't even take the reaction. It's just always on. Like if anybody tries to hit this creature within 5 feet, then they have to make that save against it. Now, the main one who's doing that is Gottwald, who's got a great con save, but that may prevent or force Mac to not be in combat, or melee combat at least, and use the bow, even though I appreciate that ever since he got that Scimitar of Speed, he likes getting up there and mixing it up in melee. The pool that they're in is 30 foot deep, filled with rotting debris, and just being in the pool, any other creature other than the Uchulans that falls into the pool must make a DC 12 con save, and you become poisoned for an hour. Considering the fact that these creatures also poison you left and right, like, pretty good chance the party's just going to be super damn poisoned the whole time. They are hidden in the pool also. And then I think deeper into the pool, yeah, under 60 feet of water is one of those jars with a brain inside. So that could be the first one to make it to. So it's still, even though it's kind of out in the open relatively compared to the others, it's still pretty heavily guarded by monsters, especially if the party makes their way north from their initial position, which I assume they would. They would have to presumably deal with several traps, possibly get a wave of attacks by the Kraken, have to fight these Mind Flayer Ropers, and then have to fight the Mind Flayer Chuuls in order to get access to their first brain. Their first brain. Matt says Sabra will be up for interrogation, exchange of knowledge. Be neat if she could lichify before the campaign end. It would be, yeah. She's, she's already had one pact with a powerful NPC creature, and that was the Black Dragon, if you recall, who she made nice with, and basically like, yeah, come study with me, after you're done, and after you're done backpacking through Europe or whatever, come back and study at this college, and we've got a position for you. But yes, she could absolutely, that would probably be more attractive to her. Would be like, oh shit, this Mind Flayer's already been liched. Can I possibly learn from you? And that would be an amazing, it would be fun from a role-playing standpoint too, where maybe Sabra ends up just basically joining the Kraken Society at that point, because that's what Vestris is. He's like, yeah, the Kraken has given me all these powers and everything, and but this colony is a perversion of that, and yada, yada, yada. So I think that'd be a cool, I'm very looking forward to the party basically meeting this NPC and unfolding from there. And now I'm kind of bummed that it might be a long time before they actually meet this character. But by putting by having one of those augmenter brains there, then that will lead the party there no matter what. It's like part of the main quest is going to that area. So I guess I feel better about that. The brain jars just move. I think they're literally just items written in the campaign. I don't think there's anything about them. I think it's just, it's a canopic jar containing a spellcaster's brain, concentrating on some spell that's enhancing the Elder Brain. In my campaign, it's not that they're casting a spell on the Elder Brain, it's that they are literally helping keep the Elder Brain in control of the Kraken. Kind of similar in a way I guess spoilers for Baldur's Gate, with the way that they're controlling that thing in Baldur's Gate, I guess. And like as you kind of unlock those locks, then that maybe makes the thing become more unstable, and maybe I can reflect that by having rumblings and stuff above them. But I haven't nailed down exactly what I want to do with the brains. Do I want to have them be like sentient brains in a jar that can fight back and stuff? It would be really interesting if we didn't just play Rime of the Frostmaiden that literally introduced these creatures. I think is my main problem with it. Which are, interesting, they're in Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft as well. So the one that I used would have been this one for the Brain in a Jar, which is a CR3. They have a fly speed of 10 feet. Technically can't breathe underwater, so that would be something I have to add, I guess. Detect sentience. They have compulsion, hold monster, sleep, Tasha's hideous, laughter, and charm person. They've got magic resistance. And they literally have the Mind Flayer stun Mind Blast. In fact, it is the exact same. 60-foot cone, psychic damage, and be stunned for a minute. So I haven't decided yet if I want to have the brains go that far. And technically these are like undead brains and stuff, which I guess is true of the other brain. But the ones in the book were just like basically items that just took like an action to destroy. Which I could do that too. But I was thinking so my options that I'm thinking of, and maybe there's more, is it's just an item the players destroy. So it's pretty much you just like, click on it and then it's done. You've completed it. So it's just the fact that you're getting to it is the challenge, not the thing itself. The second option is I make it some kind of a skill check thing where the party has to, once they have it, they then have to use some kind of arcana or intelligence check or something to like mentally, unlock the brain's power or something to shut it off, something like that. And then obviously there has to be some kind of consequence for failure there. Maybe you're taking psychic damage or getting a form of madness or something. And then it also is a case of like, can you just keep doing that? Do you have to wait some time? Like I guess I have to come up with some formal rules for that. But I think there's some interest there for sure. And then the third option would be just to turn it into something that's like a creature which in this case, only because we have like the perfect stat block, which is the Brain in a Jar creature itself, which could be worth adding to. You could say that it's already concentrating on helping the Elder Brain, so maybe it can't use any of its concentration spells. So you're kind of left with what else can it do? Can it do? I mean, it's got Chill Touch as a cantrip. It can do its Mind Blast, which is huge. I guess Tasha's Hideous Laughter, I think, is not concentration, right? Or is it? Don't search Tasha. It's giving you too many things. Tasha's Hide. It is concentration. Okay, so I guess you lock them down with the incapacitation. So without being able to concentrate on any other spells, this creature becomes a lot worse. You're basically left with Mind Blast and Chill Touch, I guess. I don't think it can use any of its other spells. So I think, yeah, Hold Person, Hold Monster, Sleep, Compulsion. What is Compulsion? But that's also concentration. That's somewhere to Confusion and Command. Yep, except it's just with movement. Okay. Honestly, kind of a lame 4th level spell. I'd rather just give him a command or something for 1st level. I guess you could make him walk off a cliff. It's pretty messed up. Put them on legs, can have them moving around. Look at some of them clonking around. That, you know what that reminds me of, Nate? Are the skeleton keys in Tomb of Annihilation. That was probably like one of the funniest, interesting bits that they did with Tomb of Annihilation, was make it so that there are a bunch of keys you have to gather, which unfortunately, the way it's designed is the party doesn't know they need these keys until they get to like near the bottom of the dungeon, I think. But each level has like a different key, but the key is like a little, it's like literally a little skeleton with legs or something, and it can move around, I guess, and the players have to catch it. I think that was always a funny thing. I don't remember, honestly don't remember it being terribly memorable in my campaign necessarily, but I thought it was a fun idea when I first read about it. I don't know if there's much usefulness having them run around. I mean, the party is tracking them, so I guess that part would be funny if they're like, think they're getting close and all of a sudden that the tracking is like, you know, moving away. But it also seems just irresponsible on the enemy's side that they would have these very important things locking down their main boss creature and then be able to like wander around willy-nilly. It seems like that would be a mistake. So yeah, we could also make it not really necessarily a creature, but just have, we could have it be like a skill check, but if you fail, then it's like the Mind Blast result, right? Where you then have to make a save, or you take with a 3d8 plus 4 psychic damage and be stunned. That could be pretty nasty if you're trying to do the mental thing. The party may add, though, the fact that, like, well, can't we just kill the brain instead of having to make this like mental skill check? Can't we just destroy it? In which case, I don't think I have a good argument for that. And maybe it is at that point worth using the Brain in a Jar stat block and say, like, yes, you can. It's got an AC 11 and an average of and 55 hit points, which is a lot for a floating brain in a jar. 55 hit points is pretty solid. Huh. But, and then there's no real like challenge there, I guess, if you're attacking it. But maybe if you're attacking it, it can, and you don't kill it, then it can Mind Blast you also. So maybe I'm trying to come up with a way that like it's not just an initiative stat block thing that the players fight. It's like a thing the party interacts with, but there are consequences for interacting with said thing, which I'm really trying to tiptoe around this not being combat for some reason. Only because I think a combat with a single brain in jar is just not going to be very fun. Now, that might be the only one where they actually fight by itself. The others may be in bigger rooms and things, but that might be the thing I'm leaning towards, actually. Let's just have it be like a skill check thing, or it can be something they have to kill, but it does have an AC, which is basically a gimme unless they roll a nat 1, like AC 11 at this level. They really have to roll a nat 1 not to be able to hit it. 55 hit points, though, may take, 2 players around or something to be able to destroy it. But maybe every time you attack it, at least in like the context of a single round, I guess I should have them roll initiative at that point. Cause like, why am I tiptoeing around this? And then have it be able to mind blast them basically on its turn. But don't let so basically what I'm doing is I'm not gonna have it be sentient. I'm gonna have it be like literally just this jar that has been lobotomized and only this brain that has been essentially lobotomized and is only concentrating on that one spell, so it loses all of its other spell casting capabilities. And the only thing it can do is at the end of the round, if it's under attack, or not the end of the round, I guess I could have it roll initiative. But if it senses itself in danger, then it does the magical psychic energy pulse and then forces the mind blast. So that might actually be the best way to handle it. Everybody's coming at the end. I know. I started off and there was like nobody here. I was like, man, am I? I was like checking the time. I was like, is my time off? Am I early or am I late? And I said at the beginning it does not feel like Thursday, so I was really worried. I was like, wait, what fucking day is it? I'm Robin Williams Jumanji meme. What year is it? God, my 4-year-old is so freaking funny. She is, I guess, still learning about days of the week and everything because I'll wake her up and she'll be like, "What day is it?" I'm like, it's Wednesday, or it's Thursday, or whatever." And she's like, "What? It was again? Wasn't it Thursday before?" Like, yeah, we have Thursday every week. What's tomorrow? Tomorrow's Friday. What happens on Friday? Like, this is not the conversation I want to have at 6:30 in the morning. Child, get up. I am also brain fogged. Vacation. Nice. That sounds good. I currently am the latest. The latest and the greatest. All right, so we like the idea of, I think, leaving the brains as maybe like lobotomized brain in a jar kind of situation. And I think I'll go ahead and leave it in this location too. It'll just be underwater, surrounded by this poisonous water, I guess, with a bunch of the higher power tools in there. So if they go that direction, we may not even ever get to this area in the very bottom, which is good because it's an area that I'm having a lot of problems wrapping my head around. Because they'll go north, they'll deal with that brain, then they'll go northeast, and again, they'll go in that clockwise formation if they choose to go that north one first, and go into the whole desecrated catacombs area, get those brains, and then make their way around to the illithid layer, and then they'll have all 4 brains done, and then we'll get to the finale section. So they could easily skip this lower left area, which is these 3 rooms that I cannot figure out what's going on here. And if they don't do that, however, they go east and decide to go after the illithid brain first, which again, they don't know which brain is which, but they're just looking at it. And what I'll do is I'll make sure this one on the east side is further away from their location currently than the one north, because I would encourage them to go north first. And we said that one is about 250 feet north of them. So I need to make sure the one that's east is at least like 300 feet. I have to zoom out so much to look around this map. Which I think we can do. If we put it on especially the right side of this map, it's going to be at least 400 feet away. So using the law of open world video games, they'll go to the closest thing, right? And that would be the best pacing-wise for me also if they go the clockwise formation. If they go east first, however, then they're going to immediately see this doorway and this temple down here, and we'll have to figure this out, which, I don't know, I'm just not... What do they call this one? Doorway. Guarding the doorway is a star spawn Hulk. A 10-foot deep trench skirts the perimeter. A creature that touches the trench takes fire damage, which is kind of weird. Green fire belches sporadically. I don't really see... I guess this is supposed to be the deep trench right here. I'm not really seeing them on the map very well. 40 is Fane of the Far Realm, which has a lot of green flame. Green flame! Illuminating a haunting ritual sacrifice. 4 cult fanatics and 2 Kraken priests are engaged in the ritual. They're transforming a thug into a Starspawn Mangler. I think it would make more sense to turn them into a Deep Scion, but I do like the Starspawn stat blocks. it feels weird that we're in the main final boss villain stuff, and like the mind flayers are controlling everything, but they're still letting the Kraken Society just kind of do its thing, and the Kraken Society is still doing its thing. So that's why I'm a little turned off by it. Like theme wise, is like, oh, there's this, like there's a whole like mind flayer facility over here, as I gesture to the right side of the screen. But in the lower left, like the Kraken Society is still doing its thing, like right here in this corner, right next door. Like that feels a little weird to me. Uh, and then there's also a ceiling that has an entrance. Okay, the ceiling of the chamber is also 50 feet tall. Uh, geez. Okay, so all these ceilings, I guess, are 50 feet tall. The ones that have the giant holes in them. Which it does have an access to the ruins of Ascarle, so that would be an opportunity for the Kraken to be able to kind of see what's going on down here. So it makes sense that would be a temple, I guess, here. Could be an interesting situation where the Kraken is like overseeing, but again, it's controlled by the Elder Brain. So it, like, why are they letting just regular Kraken shit go on here? I guess they're turning people. It would make sense if this were a Ceramorphosis thing. Like if this was being co-opted by the Mind Flayers, and this is like, oh, this is how they're like turning people into thralls and things. Versus having the Kraken priest still doing their stuff. Obviously, you could have the Kraken priest be thralls also, and maybe they're creating thralled scions, I guess. And then I did not at all understand this trap or this puzzle room. I guess I haven't looked at the appendix. I think Fishhead, you might have been the one that told me about it. But there's a whole it's like a classic like Zelda style puzzle where it's a light beams you can do, but like they open the doors, but there's no treasure in these doors, so I don't understand like the whole purpose. Like you'd think there'd be a cool reward for solving this advanced puzzle, but the only reward is that it opens a door leading to the east, but you can get to the east just by going around this whole fucking area. So I fail to see the point behind doing this. Also, why is this here for the temple purpose? Why does the temple cult people have their own light puzzle they can interact with? Is that what do they call that at the zoo? Enrichment? Enrichment for the cultists. They get bored sometimes. We gotta stimulate. We gotta let them solve a few puzzles sometimes. So yeah, I'm unfortunately, as interesting as I like having the idea of a creepy temple in this area, I have a lot of problems with the design of this place and also just like where it fits in the narrative, while still having all the Mind Flayer stuff in here. So the other option I could do is I could just say fuck it as a DM and just wall this place off and just say, you know what, we don't need it. There's enough going on here. I can try to just come up with some art here that's blocking it and just honestly block it off. And I'm leaning towards doing that. There's no brains in here. It's just kind of a side thing. The only thing it has is another entrance for the Kraken to be able to jack with the party, but I'm thinking we're going to get that here when they make their way north, and for sure there'll be almost a forced one here, although they could make their way from the north side, I guess. But also we could put these anywhere, right? We can put these little holes, well, kind of anywhere. I guess they still have to match with the ones on the north side, but then I can put more holes on the ruin side map if I need to also. Just to have those little Kraken encounters if I want to. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. But I'm excited about a lot of this area. I think we'll probably change a few things about Room 33 as we talked about earlier. But everything else works. I love the idea of that Illithid Lich, the Alhoon that the party can ally with. I think is fabulous. I definitely want to do that and build out this northern area. I think we're going to use most of that area, and I think we're going to use most of this Illithid layer area, and then we'll still try to figure out how we're going to work out the actual finale with the timing of the players facing off against the Kraken Elderbrain, and then also just what we can do with this entire middle giant area. If we want this to be the actual finale with the brain in there, or if we want the party to have to go in here as a final step to unlock the final battle with the brain. Like, I don't know. We'll figure that out. We've got presumably several weeks left, I would expect, of dungeon delving sessions in this final area. I don't think it's going to be as long as the Lost City was in Rhyme. I don't think, but you know, going into it, I don't have any idea. But it's still going to be plenty of content. So I think I'm okay with cutting that lower left section, just as I cut the second level for the illithid layer. Always nice to have too much as a DM and then cut than it is to freak out and say, oh no, we've got to add more stuff here because I don't have enough. All right, that is going to do it for this Thursday edition of Crafting the Deep. If you enjoyed the content, as always, please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. Shout out to fun to patrons: Joe, Will, Thomas, Dan, Brennan, Dennis, Center, Eclectic, Role, Player, Christopher, Corey, Big Nut, John F., John L., Nathan, Kent, Chris, Counselor, Andrew, The Reldon, Stephanie, Jason, Ismail, Amat, Lumpy, Spud, Shawnee, Warden, Harold, Unimonia, LLC, Tom, AJ, They're Eating the Dogs, Caleb, Chad, Luca, Nicholas, and Marcus, and a gold patrons, RPG, Paper Cards, Pretty Boy, and Umed, Lizard Lounge, Jerome, Nathan, Fazagatora, Scott, Refus, Jerry, Glenn, Mark. Thank you all for your support. If you are a patron signed up for our Patreon D&D game, I will see you tonight, but for the rest of you, I will see you tomorrow night for our live.